Hi everybody, I'm Marbozir and welcome back to Let's Play Shadowrun Hong Kong. So, let's continue where we left off. I think we need to sleep first, before we talk with any people. So, let's do that. You wake with a start. Once again, you're tangled in your sheets, drenched in sweat. Your throat feels like it's on fire. You can't remember what your dreams were about, not precisely. But again, you feel that yearning sensation. The emptiness in your gut and in your chest. Your head throbbing. You heave yourself out of bed. Alright then, so let's have a chat with a few people. Starting from Duncan, because he's the closest. Bad timing, Liang. I think I ate something that was off. Still can't get used to the food here. Come back later when my digestive system's more agreeable. Fair enough. Let's check on Gobet and Isabel. We do have some karma to spend. I'll probably spend it. I'm not actually sure what I want to spend it on. Well, actually yes, I do know what I want to spend it on. Let's get one more point in body. Done. Alright, so let's have a chat with Isabel. As you step into Isabel's cabin, she turns to face you. The desk that she's been working at is a mess. Food wrappers and computer expansion cards lie together in a heap. Isabel herself doesn't look much better. Her eyes are badly bloodshot, and her lips have been drawn into a deep frown. You're back. Hey. She shoves a box of assorted mounting screws aside with her foot. What do you need? Any thoughts about that last run? Yeah, of course I've got thoughts. It was my run, right? She pauses for a moment. And, thank you for coming with me. Don't mention it, it was fun. Don't know if I'd call it that, but we got what we came for. That's something. Anything else you wanted to know? How are you holding up? Not great. I'll manage. If you say so, is there anything that I can do? I seriously doubt it. I appreciate the offer though. When I unlocked these old memories, I told you that they were crystal clear, right? Every detail was perfect. It's still that way, and I think it will always be. Why? Because they've been stored as data in archival format. They're never going to fade. They'll never grow less intense with time. It's like having an eidetic memory. I'm stuck with a perfect record of every shitty thing that I saw and felt during my childhood in hell. It's not an easy thing to live with. I knew a guy back in the Barrens who got his arms hacked off with a machete. I'm pretty sure he can't forget his past either, but he found a way to live with it. If the memories are this painful to you, we can lock them away again after all of this is over, and you can throw away the key. Why not just lock the memories away when you're not using them? You have the key. Just unlock them again when we need them. Let's go with the second one. That's what I'm hanging on to. The fact that I can ditch my childhood again and forget the things that I saw. All the more reason to get through this business with the walled city quickly. And speaking of which, if you wanted to ask me questions about that place, you can go ahead. I think I've had enough time to process what's in my head. I should be able to give you some answers. Not all the answers, mind you, but something. Okay? Now that we've unlocked your memories, I have a question about the walled city. Go on, I'm ready. How did you get out of there when you were a kid? How did you escape? Gobet led me out. How did she manage that? Go ahead and ask her. I'm sure that she'll be happy to brag about it. But I think we have more pressing matters to discuss. That's all for now. Can we talk about something else? Please. To be honest, almost anything else would be preferable. Well, there's nothing else to talk about. Good, because I had enough for one day. I'm tired. Reliving this stuff is exhausting. Come back later if you want. I'll have had more time to unpack this stuff by then. But until then, please give me some space. Okay then. So let's have a chat with Gobet. Gobet looks up from her hot plate at the sound of your approach. A smile creases her face. She raises her eyebrows and gestures at the cabin around you. You know, the Kraken has been really shaping up over the past few days. With all of the work that we've been putting into her, She's starting to feel like a real home. Anyway, enough about the boat. Ready for your next lesson, or did you just want to chat? Let's see. Thoughts about the last run? Well, she wasn't there, so not much to say. Nice to have a night off. I got a question about Isabel. Oh yeah? Well, sure then, ask away. She told me that you led her out of the walled city when you were kids. Care to fill me in on the details? Yeah? I guess I'm not surprised. Is has never been big on padding a story with unnecessary detail. Wanna tell me your side of the story? Seems that I've got vested interest in the walled city these days. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll share. To start, I guess that you're gonna need to know what the walled city was like when me and Iz were kids. She didn't tell you anything about that, did she? Nope. Didn't think so. Well, for starters, you should probably know that the walled city wasn't always as bad as it is now. It was always dangerous, but 10 years ago it was just a run-of-the-mill slum. Still safe enough that walking in it didn't qualify as suicide attempt. Keep going. Back then, I used to play in the walled city. Rat would lead me into all of the nooks and crannies that grown-ups were too big to fit through. There was this one young shaman in there that I used to play with. His name was Happy, or Lucky, something like that. He followed Pig. Nice guy, good card player. Obviously, none of this was a good idea. A teenage girl going into the walled city by herself? That's a recipe for disaster. I didn't realize any of this at the time though. I loved playing in the alleys and crawl spaces of the walled city. It was fun. Is that how you met Isabel? Yep. Inside the wall, there are these districts. You were in one area when Cheng sent you after Strangler Bao, the Lotus Den. How many are there? A lot. Some of them aren't much bigger than an apartment building. You'd be surprised how many people you can cram into a single room when you have to. Isabel and her family lived in the Mansion district. It's sort of a holding pen for refugees from the Middle East and Africa. Basically anyone who isn't Asian, European or goblinoid. It's less pleasant than it sounds. Why was it called the Mansion district? The locals named it after choking mansions out of Sim Sha Tsui, sort of an inside joke. The mansions are an unofficial African quarter of Hong Kong. Most of the free enterprise zones African immigrants settle there if they can afford it. The destitute refugees like Iz and her family don't get to go to the Chongqing mansions. They get herded into the walled city, and once they're inside, the mansion districts is where they wind up. Forced relocation, huh? I guess some things never go out of style. No, they don't. And once the refugees arrive in the mansion district, their prospects don't exactly improve. The only things that most of these people in the mansion had in common were the color of their skin and the fact that they were living in crushing poverty. They didn't even have a common language to speak. It was a pretty rough place. Lots of infighting, lots of gang-on-gang violence. People didn't band together for protection, but there wasn't a lot of hope. Everyone lived in fear of being sent deeper into the slum towards the center. When you start getting dragged in that direction, you don't come back. Sounds like a charming place. Yeah, charming. That's where I met Isabel. It wasn't long before we were friends. She was interesting. I think that's why I let her latch onto me. The girl was smart and savvy and cripplingly shy. She didn't belong in the walled city. No one really does. But with her it was painfully obvious. She was more like a mouse crammed into a box full of weasels. It was only a matter of time before somebody snapped her up. So what happened? What led you to take her out of the walled city? Rat happened. She came to me in a dream, showed me that whatever was going bad in the walled city was getting worse. The whole place was rotting from the inside out, choking in bad chi and lost hope. I decided to go inside one more time. If I found Isabel, I'd offer to lead her out. If I didn't, well, you'd have left her there. I get it. You don't have to explain yourself to me. Thanks. It isn't pleasant to think about, especially considering what a shithole the walled city is now. The truth of the matter is, if I hadn't pulled Isabel out of there, she'd probably be dead by now. I get it. Someone did the same for me and Duncan once. She nods. Yeah, I knew that you'd get it. And I did bump into her, and she did follow me. And Rat got us both out safe. So there you have it. Happy endings all around. What about the other people who stayed behind? That other shaman that you knew? They went bad, crazy. That pig shaman that I knew wound up going full on toxic. It was horrifying. He burned himself out in an orgy of blood. Nasty business. And not for me. Toxic, what does that mean? When a shaman goes toxic, it goes bad. It's like, if you invert the usual meaning of a totem, that's what a toxic shaman does. Dog shamans are loyal and friendly, like a good dogs are. Like all good dogs are. A toxic dog shaman is rabid. They're both dog, and they're different aspects of dog, get it? Yeah, and your pig shaman friend went toxic. That's what I heard. You don't want to know what happened to him, what he became. It was pretty bad at the end, before the locals overwhelmed him. A lot of people died. What about Isabel's family? She said that they were still in the walled city. Why didn't you bring them with you? You think that I didn't want to? She sweeps a lost strand of hair out of her eyes. Look. It was going to be dangerous enough to get Isabel out on her own. Dragging a whole family out with her would have been impossible. Why? Because they weren't like me and Iz. They hadn't grown up in the streets. They weren't upper-class people back in Somalia before they emigrated to Hong Kong. They were upper-class people back in Somalia. They were hopelessly out of their element. Even if I had managed to find them, they probably would have done something stupid and gotten us killed. So you left them. You made the right choice. Damn right I did. Even if I'd managed to convince them to come with us, they would have gotten caught. The Yellow Lotus would have kidnapped them, if they were lucky. If they were lucky, the Frill gangs or Orang Leggers might have gotten them. It wasn't worth the risk to even try. Besides which, Isabel didn't want to bring her family. She wanted to get away from them as much as she did from the walled city. Never could get her to tell me why. Okay, interesting. I remember that part. That's all. Can we talk about something else? So, I'm ready for the next lesson. Yeah? She smiles. That's good. I was hoping that you'd want to keep going with this. It's good for you, and I'm kind of enjoying it too. Gobet runs a hand through the knotted ropes of her hair, a contemplative look on her face. A moment later, she turns her attention back to you. Alright, this is gonna be another long story, and I'm thinking we should take it in chunks. If you've got any questions, you can ask him along the way. And if you need to take a break, we can come back to it. Sounds good? Sounds good. Good. So the last time I told you about that event that brought an end to my illustrious career as a subcontractor. This time I'm gonna tell you about a run that I went on with my regular team. Nightjars? No, this was long before I hooked up with them. Iz was still learning to deck back then. She was good for her age, but she wasn't ready for prime time. And it would be another couple of years before I'd meet Nightjar or Ointy Cheng. You don't know anyone from the group that I'm talking about. They're all gone now anyway. Wait, you lost 3 other teams before you hook up with me? Yeah, I did. Thanks for rubbing it in. Sorry. Don't worry about it, I'm fine. When you run the shadows, losing people is an occupational hazard. As Shadowrunners, we're disposable assets. It shouldn't come as a surprise when we get used up and tossed away. It was the same way in the Barrens. Here, today, gone tomorrow. Yeah, you know how it is. People die, and it's sad, but there's no sense in moping about it. Tell me about the team you were running with. So how did you meet this group of yours? From mutual friends. We actually all lived together back when we decided to start running as a team. There was this floating squatters commune out in Hong Kong Bay. It's probably still out there actually. I haven't been back in a long time. But I spent a few years living on the thing, and the rest of the team lived there with me. Squatters commune? You lived on a what, raft? Yeah, basically, we call it the sinking ship. It wasn't much to look at, just a whole bunch of shipping containers, all bolted together into a great big floating brick. Wasn't the most comfortable place I've ever lived, but the price was right and the company was good. Okay, so tell me about the team? Sure. Our muscle was a Hawaiian Joe with poor impulse control, big round guy with lumberjack arms and ringlets in his hair. He called himself Honu. I guess that he loved turtles? I don't know, street names are weird. We had a tech specialist, Egret. She was tall, gawky, dyed her hair bone white. She had a drone named Arlo that followed her around like a lost puppy. She was kind of a jack of all trades, but she could get the job done. Fun at parties too. Our de facto team leader was a guy named Soy. He was a wiry troll, if you can imagine that. Probably about 2% body fat, all skin and bones. Walked with a hunch to make himself look smaller. He was a shaman, followed rat, like me. Sounds like an interesting group of people. There can't be many troll rat shamans out there. Not that I've met, but Soy seems like a really good guy. We got along fine. I actually really liked everyone on the team. They were a lot of fun to run with. Okay, I think I got the grasp of the team dynamic. Keep going. Alright, moving on. So one day, Soy brought us a job. He'd met a client in a Victoria Harbor bar, a rich Eastern Tiger executive. The guy wanted us to steal something for him, a shiny object. She raises her hands. I know, it's stupid, right? But that was how the Johnson described it to us. The shiny object. That was what he wanted us to get. He never gave it any other name. Okay. Seriously? A rat shaman hired to steal a shiny object? Yeah. You can see how this gig would be hard for us to resist. Anyway, the client told us what to look for. He described it as a chunk of red jade, about the size and shape of an ostrich egg, with a mirror-polished surface and gold wire inlays. He said that it would have paper charms hanging off, full talismans, Taoist sorcery stuff. We weren't supposed to touch those. The client also told us about shiny objects' then owner, an old hedge wizard turned entrepreneur named Kong Chioyan? Or whatever. Hedge wizard. He had the whole wise old sage thing going on. He had the robes, the little hat, the kind smile, oh, and the piece de resistance, a long wispy bird. He was mean as a snake though, had the rep to prove it. Intel said that the old man was keeping the shiny object in one of his warehouses. He had a bunch of them. He'd built himself a nice little empire, selling magical paraphernalia through puppet vendors in the Yau Ma night market. Supposedly, a good fifth of the stalls in that place were on his payroll. Okay? Got it, keep going. So we'd cased the warehouse for a couple of nights before the run. You know, did some recon, took some notes. From what we'd seen, we were pretty sure that he was keeping our payday in vault area at the very back of the building. Security was pretty heavy though. He was paying a local shire for protection, and he kept a lot of their boys on staff. Soy was the one who came up with the plan. We'd split up outside and enter the warehouse in 2 teams. Team A would create a diversion. Team B would then hit the vault while security was looking in the other direction. We'd grab our payday, regroup, and get the hell out of there. Seems straightforward enough. How'd it work out? Surprisingly well, up to a point. Team A, Honu and Egret, circled around the loading dock, just like we'd planned. Soy and I waited by the service entrance. We didn't have to wait long. A couple of minutes in, we heard this ungodly crash, then another, and another. As it turns out, Egret had rigged into the network of automated forklifts. She had 6 of them running amok in the loading dock, chasing down workers and crashing themselves into anything marked fragile. Sounds like a good time. I know, right? I wish I could have been there to see it. Egret's distraction did what it was supposed to. As Soy and I watched, most of the Triad guys at the service entrance abandoned their posts and went hauling off towards the loading dock. A couple guys with baseball bats stayed back, but we handled them easy enough. We slipped inside and made a beeline for the back of the warehouse, where the shiny object was supposed to be. Let me guess, something went wrong. No, actually, it was there, just like we thought it would be. The door was open and everything. The shiny object was sitting there in a thick cradle, gleaming with reflected light. Just like the client had said, it had a ring of Taoist talismans hanging off it, like a grass skirt, the paper all crinkled with age. We didn't waste any time. I reached in and grabbed the thing. It felt strange through my gloves. The jade sort of pulsed, as if it had heartbeat. That sounds ominous. Yeah, tell me about it. I wanted to drop the thing, but it was our payday, so I slipped into my satchel instead. I couldn't get the flap closed quickly enough. The package being secure, Soy and I turned to hightail it out of there, and then things went to shit. Okay, did this shiny object do something unpredictable? No, not the shiny object, the old man. He was standing there, right in front of us, larger than life. I'm guessing that when he heard a commotion in the loading dock, he'd come running, well, waddling, to make sure his treasure was safe. As it turns out, it wasn't, because I'd already stolen the thing. He looked displeased. What did he do? What do you think we did? He had our backs to a wall. We lit the old bastard up. It was pretty epic, truth be told. Spirits were summoned, spells were discharged, the vault door sealed behind him like something out of a movie. At one point, the old man leapt into Sui's back and tried to bite his ear off. I won't bore you with the play-by-play of how the fight went down. In the end, we crushed him. Unfortunately, the fighting caused some collateral damage. At some point during our showdown with Zhuoyan, the control panel for the vault door must have eaten an arc of lightning, or the blast of a powerball. It was toast, all black and melted, and neither of us could fix it. So you were trapped in the vault. Yeah, that's about the size of it, and it was only a matter of time before the old man's remaining security guys found us in there. There was still one way out, a ventilation duct, up high in the rafters, but it was too small for Sui to fit through. He was a troll after all. I had the shiny object, but I left Sui in there and security got to him. Well, you do the math. So here's the conundrum. I've got our payday in my satchel. The team is split. It's inevitable that the Triad 49ers are going to find us, but we don't know how or how many. Egret and Honu are holding their own in the loading dock for now. I can stay with Sui to help off the inevitable wave of Triad 49ers, but we'll be badly outmatched. Like, badly. The odds of survival won't look good for either of us. If Egret weren't pinned down in the loading dock, she could probably get the vault door open, but in the order to get to her, I'll have to leave Sui alone in the vault. If Zhuoyan's reinforcements find Sui before I get back with Egret, well... So that's the scenario, Seattle. Not a lot to work with, I know. Now tell me, what should I do? Okay then. Stick with Sui, try to hold off security reinforcements until Honu and Egret can free themselves up and come help. Okay, so that's one option. Well, you've got a dangerous magical artifact in your pouch, right? I think I'd try to use it. So that's the second. Take the gamble and go for Egret. It's the plan with the best chance of success. You've got the payday in your pouch. I'd have cut my losses, climbed into the vent and bailed. Yeah, that's definitely not the way to go. I'm tempted to go with second. Let's go with second. She nods, unsmiling. That's the most stylish answer, isn't it? Just audacious enough to be fun. It popped into my head, right then and there, same as it did yours. So that's what I did. No hesitation. I just made it happen. It was almost like Sui had been waiting for me to pass him the thing. He seemed eager to take it. He hugged that chunk of rock to his chest, like a newborn baby. Colors swam in the stone, and something changed in his eyes. Then, the old man's 49ers breached the door, and Sui unleashed hell. She pauses, frowning, stops scratching Folly, and uses the hand to rub her eyes. Finally, she turns back to you. A sour look pinches her features. What went down in that room? Well, I've only seen that kind of carnage a couple of times in my life, and I've been running the shadows for years. Those triad men were torn to scraps by the end of it. Don't think I'll ever forget the sounds that they made. She clears her throat. I spent most of the time huddled up in the corner for my own safety. What Sui let loose from the stone didn't seem terribly interested in discriminating between friend and foe. What do you mean by that? Did he summon hostile spirits or something? Something like that. Truth be told, I don't know what they were. Like I said, I was hiding. But he couldn't have done it without the shiny object, not in a million years. Whatever they were, the rock brought them here. So what happened then? We waited for things to calm down in the vault, and for the things to go slithering away. I think that Sui had some limited control over them, which is why they didn't eat us. After they were gone, Sui gave me the shiny object back. I put it in my satchel, and we bailed. We collected the others on the way out. They were blissfully ignorant of what happened on the other side of the warehouse, and I didn't see a reason to change that. We hightailed it back to the docks and caught the first boat to the sinking ship. Mission accomplished. Okay? From what I'm told, people still avoid Shuyan's warehouse like the plague. It's supposed to be haunted, even to this day. People who set foot in the building keep turning up dead. Pretty sure I'm one of the only living people who knows why. Abruptly, her body language changes. Anyway, that's it. Lesson over. If got any questions, go ahead. Gobet. Was there a point to this story? I'm trying to find a moral here. There was when I started telling it. I thought I was gonna tell you to be comfortable with breaking the rules. I don't think I'm gonna say that now though. I'm not feeling it anymore. Why not? At least your team made it out of this run alive. They didn't stay that way for long. But let's leave that for the next time, huh? I don't want to get into it just now. Okay, let's take a break. Of course, like I said, it's a long story. So, was there something else that you wanted to talk about? Oh, well, let's finish it then. So, can you tell me more about the sinking ship? Yeah, sure, the story is over, so we can get into it. I moved onto the sinking ship when I was just a kid. I think I was 12, maybe 13 years old at the time. In the beginning, it was just me and a couple of rad shaman friends, Cadmus and Malvina. They were older, but they were always cool to me. Did your friends build the raft? No, no way. Cadmus probably could have, but he didn't. Me and Malvina appropriated it from former owners. There was a team of Shadowrunners that had lived on the thing before us, but they beat it on the job. Cad and Mal heard the knock of opportunity, and they claimed the raft in record time. Taking over the sinking ship wasn't an easy job, mind you. The previous owners had installed traps and automated defenses all over the raft. Cad had his hands full with those for a month. Okay, sounds cozy. That actually isn't too far off. There were explosives, pop turrets, all of that good stuff. Cad and his sister Yasmin took care of most of it, without too much trouble though. The biggest problems were the scuttling charges. The runners who built the raft had installed these explosives all along the perimeter that ripped the bottom of the thing if it were ever seized by the police. The explosives were tricky to deal with. Cad was able to disarm them, but he had to leave them where they were. It was always just slightly uncomfortable, knowing that I was sleeping on top of a couple 100 pounds of dormant explosives. Yeah, I can't blame you there. Hey, like I said, I was free. It was free. There weren't really even any rules to follow, which suited me fine. Malvina was sort of the leader in our little nest, but we never had listened to her. She was always trying to play the mom card, instill a sense of responsibility into us. It was cute. She did have a propensity for getting things done though. I'll give her that. Anyway, after a few months, other people started showing up. Squatters, homeless people, Shadowrunners, and assorted crazies. As long as they stayed cool with us, we were cool to them. Eventually, it became a community. Imagine that. Think you would wind up squatting on a kraken because of your time on the sinking ship? I don't know. Maybe. Never really thought about it before, but yeah, maybe. I guess I'm just a water rat now. Okay, let's take a break and come back to this later. So that's that. Yeah, hey Seattle. I'm sorry that this lesson wound up getting a little unfocused at the end. I'm not really sure what came over me. It's cool, don't worry about it. Well, I still feel bad about it. So look, I'll make you a deal. Your next lesson will definitely be on point. And I'll tell you what it's about up front. No more question and answer sessions. How does that sound? Fine by me. Next time. Alright, so that's that. We should still talk with Rakter and Gaicho, but let's check the mission computer first. There should be a few missions available there. So, inbox messages. Okay, Geomantic Sabotage is the last mission from the initial 3 that we had right at the start. I think this is new. From Gobet. Hey Seattle, I think I can add a little context to that thing between Auntie and Josephine Sang. You know, the thing that makes Auntie eat the sauce and talk revenge. This is a combo of stuff that I heard and stuff that I put together myself, so your mileage may vary. For years, the Yellow Lotus acted as tax collectors within the Walled City. Since the Walled City was built by Josephine Sang and the Yellow Lotus was run by Auntie Cheng, they must have had a working business relationship, for a while at least. From what Nightjar told me, and he was her favorite, you got that, right? Auntie was known as a real up-and-comer back then. She was on fast track to be the next Yellow Lotus 438. That's a big deal. Gig, Seattle. Money and power galore. Now, you need to know that there were a lot of Shayas and Corps doing biz in the Walled City. All sorts of stuff. Sometimes they work together nicely, and sometimes people get bloody. That way, the way I heard it, Auntie came up with some sort of grand plan to consolidate business in the Walled City. The power would be split between Yellow Lotus and Sang's company, and everyone would get cut out. If her plan worked, Auntie would rise in the Yellow Lotus like nobody's business, and the Josephine Sang would make long bank. There was a catch though. In order for the plan to work, both women would need to jump through a lot of hoops. There'd be street level maneuvering and power plays on Auntie's side, and blackmail, as well as negotiations on the corporate level from Josephine Sang. My info gets sketchy here. From what I've pieced together, Sang went behind Auntie's back and took her plan to her boss, a 438 named Wong Lun Fat. They cut kindly out of her own plan. Why would Sang do that? My guess is that she saw Auntie as some sort of threat. People in the know say that Wong Lun Fat is weak and greedy. She can be manipulated if her palm remains well greased. Long story short, power was consolidated in the Walled City, just like Auntie planned, only she didn't wind up getting any of it. Her climb in the Lotus ladder came to an abrupt halt. She's still a straw sandal, just like she was before Sang backstabbed her. And now she's stuck in Hioi, like a fly in amber. I'd be pissed too, if it were me. Gobet. Alright then. So, well, we're going to pick up our next job in the next episode, so thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you next time.